The world is chaotic. It will never be peaceful. People living in the world are filled with defilements. They hurt and harm each other all the time. We can't fix this. We are non-entities. Train yourselves to be able to live peacefully in all kinds of situations. We have an advantage over people in other countries or followers of other religions since we have Dharma. Knowledge on how to train ourselves to be able to live peacefully in all kinds of situations. If the world is chaotic, it's just the world's way. This can only affect our bodies, but it can't affect our minds. The Buddha's knowledge is truly amazing. He said that when common people had problems affecting their bodies or lives, there was a secondary impact on their minds. But for Buddha's disciples, problems and afflictions could only affect their bodies and not their minds. Since we have the Buddha's knowledge, we can train our minds to transcend suffering. Most people aspire. It's difficult now, but be patient. Soon, this will pass, and our lives will be happy. In reality, this isn't how it works. When one problem ends, another new problem begins. Sometimes, the old problem hasn't even been resolved yet, before the new problem presents itself, one after another. This is how the world is. We fantasize and hope for the world to be at peace, for people to be nice to each other, to be helpful and never hurt each another. This is an ideal, a utopian society, a dream. Let's study the Buddhist science. To start with, maintain the precepts. Next, train the mind. To maintain precepts, pay heed to speech and actions, so as not to hurt others as well as ourselves. To train the mind, there are two meditation practices: calmness meditation and insight meditation. The Buddha specified that calmness meditation and insight meditation are to be cultivated knowledgeably and wisely. The Buddha taught Dharma by adapting it per the temperament. Inclinations and perfections of his listeners. To summarize, he taught about suffering, its cause, its ending, and the path to end suffering. Suffering is form and non-form. Its cause is craving. Its ending is nibbana, or cessation of suffering. The Eightfold Path consists of 8 practices. Sometimes, while teaching about the path that one should cultivate, he emphasized the calmness meditation and insight meditation, which are Dharma categories under the Noble Eightfold Path. Are the practices that one should cultivate. Calmness meditation is practiced so that the mind will be rooted in awareness, energized and fertile for wisdom cultivation. We don't practice calmness meditation with the goal of happiness, peace, or any other form of wholesome states, because happiness is impermanent, peace is impermanent, and wholesome states are also impermanent. These are mundane dharma. We practice steadying and rooting the mind in awareness. In order to cultivate wisdom, insight meditation. If we cultivate sufficient wisdom, the noble path and fruit will arise, and the mind will attain liberation. The Buddha taught that one can reach purity by means of wisdom. However, this wisdom must be insight wisdom. There are different types of wisdom: worldly wisdom, wisdom from calmness practice, etc. Practicing samadhi with the mind rooted in awareness while also being calm requires wisdom. We can't practice persistently but clueless about the law of cause and effect. It won't work. The best kind of wisdom that leads one to liberation is insight wisdom. Insight wisdom can be attained only if the mind has gained sufficient strength through right samadhi. Once the right samadhi is attained and sustained through right effort to develop it further, this is when wisdom arises. Therefore, we need to put effort into training. What is required to practice when we learn the Noble Eightfold Path? We see that it is all about mental practice. They are practices for cultivating initial stage wisdom. Right view and right thought or right intention. These steps are for initial stage wisdom, which we are required to develop. It's essential. At the beginning of right view development, we rely on listening and or reading of the teachings in the 3 baskets, which can be the teachings of the Buddha or his trustworthy senior disciples. Relying on these teachings, we attain the initial level right view. This is theoretical right view. Because of reading, listening or pondering. This is wisdom from thinking or contemplation, which doesn't lead to transcendence. We need to study so as to first understand the foundational level of right view. The foundation of right view is the 4 Noble Truths and their related duties, which we need to learn. The 4 Noble Truths are suffering, its cause, its ending, and the path to end suffering. Suffering, in summary, is form and non-form. The forms of suffering are aging, illness, and death. Regular laypeople can only see the obvious symptoms when they are old, when their bodies are not healthy, not active, get sick often, when they are unhappy, when they don't enjoy food, when they can't sleep, when they have constipation, when they are old and feeble. These are the Dharma that the Buddha pointed out. For those with weak spiritual faculties, so they can observe suffering easily. Aging is suffering, illness is suffering, death is suffering. Separation from loved things or loved ones is suffering. Association with unbeloved things or unbeloved ones is suffering. Not getting what is wanted is suffering. At the beginning level, the Buddha taught about suffering in a manner that people could understand. Then he expounded the true suffering as Sankite no Panju Pa Da Nakon Da Dukkha. Meaning in summary, the 5 clinging aggregates are suffering. As all the 5 aggregates are suffering, there is no requirement for classification of the old, the ill, the dead, those departed from their loved ones, or associating with the unbeloved, because they are all just the 5 aggregates, which in turn is suffering. Form is suffering, because it is under stress to disintegrate constantly. When form is under stress, it becomes old, ill, and dies. Mind, which is formless, is suffering. Whenever craving arises, suffering arises. This is just intermediate level wisdom. For a higher level of wisdom, when form or non-form exists, suffering exists. Form, even without transforming via aging, illness or death, is still suffering in every moment. Non-form, or mind, is under stress in every moment. Regardless of getting what is wanted or not, the non-form or mind, in and of itself, is suffering. There are levels of Dharma. For those without the basic knowledge, he taught that birth, aging, illness, and death is suffering, that separation from their loved ones is suffering, that association with the unbeloved is suffering, that not getting what is wanted is suffering, that sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are suffering. These are basic Dharma that regular people can see. If we are to practice seeing higher levels of Dharma, then who gets old, who gets sick, who dies? The form gets old, the form gets sick, the form dies. Who is satisfied, who is disappointed? The non-form or the mind is satisfied, the mind is disappointed. Therefore, the real foundation of suffering is the 5 aggregates or form and non-form. As per the Buddha's teaching, in summary, the 5 clinging aggregates are suffering. Early on in our practice, we cannot see this. First, we need to train the mind to be rooted in awareness and to become the awakened knower. Then have mindfulness to cognize the body and mind. Have perception to see the 3 characteristics of body and mind. Mind being rooted in awareness represents having the right samadhi, with many virtues working together. Eventually, the right understanding of form and non-form being suffering, which is wisdom, will be attained. Dharma has many levels. The coarse level of Dharma is taught to regular worldly people. If we practice, we can identify the various Dharma levels. For worldly level, the Buddha taught that aging, illness, death is suffering. After hearing this, worldly people do not interpret it in the way the Buddha meant. The Buddha said, aging, illness, death is suffering. Upon hearing this, our defilements immediately interpret it as the one who is born, who gets old, who gets sick, and who dies, has suffering. Or we get old, we get sick, and we die. This is suffering. The Buddha didn't teach that. He said, birth, aging, illness, death is suffering. Not the one who is born, gets old, gets sick, and dies. Even after listening to basic Dharma, we interpret it inaccurately. We always interpret that there are people, animals, us or them. Why? Because our primal foundation is pleased with the self. There is the I. So our mental foundation has accumulated information around this notion. When we hear the Dharma, aging, illness, death is suffering, the mind immediately interprets it as the one who is born, who gets old, who gets sick, who dies as suffering, and it will be even more suffering if I am old, I am ill, or I die. When we see others get old, get sick, or die, we are not with suffering. It's their business, not mine, and thus the notion of them and I come up. The Buddha's Dharma is truly exquisite. Listen carefully to really understand it. He taught that aging, illness, death is suffering. Separation from the loved is suffering. Association with the unbeloved is suffering. He didn't teach that heartbroken is suffering, because there isn't a person. The Buddha's teaching is truly exquisite. When we practice in more subtle and profound level, we will see that. For instance, he taught that, in summary, the 5 clinging aggregates are suffering. When we hear, in summary, the 5 clinging aggregates are suffering, we immediately interpret it as the aggregates that we cling to are suffering. If we don't cling to them, then there is no suffering. The aggregates themselves are not suffering. He didn't teach like this. The term clinging aggregates is used to describe the type of aggregates. In fact, all aggregates are suffering. They arise, exist, and cease, and can't be relied on. To think that, if we cling to it, then it is suffering. If we don't cling to it, it isn't suffering. This is wrong. As we practice and gain little wisdom, we see that, if the mind clings to anything, the mind is suffering. If the mind doesn't cling to anything, but instead it becomes the joyful awakened knower, then this mind is not suffering. If we continue to practice more and more, we will know that the mind, in and of itself, is suffering. With or without clinging, the mind is suffering. Dharma has many levels. Worldly people view each other as individuals, as us and them, that we suffer, others suffer, something along these lines. After practicing for a while, we will see that there are only aggregates, which the mind clings to sometimes, and at other times the mind doesn't cling to. When there is clinging, there's suffering. When there's no clinging, there's no suffering. Sometimes we see that, if the mind craves or clings, the mind is suffering. If the mind doesn't crave or cling, the mind isn't suffering. Seeing in this way means at this stage wisdom is still not sufficient. If wisdom is sufficient, as we practice, there will come a point when we will observe that, regardless of with or without craving, or with or without clinging, the mind or all aggregates are suffering. If we can see this subtle level of suffering, abandonment of its cause will occur. That is, as we see that the aggregates are suffering, desire of the aggregates to not be suffering will no longer exist, won't arise any longer, because desire of the aggregates to be not suffering is the ignorance that will have been washed away. Since the aggregates themselves are suffering, if we practice up to that stage where aggregates are suffering, we see that the ringleader of the aggregates is the knower mind, the menacing one, the most vicious one. It is of utmost difficulty to see that the knower mind itself is suffering. We see, but we misperceive. It isn't entirely incorrect, but it is somewhat correct for the current level. It's correct step by step. We see that, if the mind craves, if the mind clings, the mind is suffering. If the mind doesn't crave, if the mind doesn't cling, the mind isn't suffering. As we practice enough and thoroughly comprehend suffering in and out. What is the suffering? Form and non-form, or the 5 aggregates, in and of themselves, are suffering. With or without craving, with or without clinging, they are suffering. Some aggregates are not clinging aggregates. namely supramundane minds, and the supramundane mental factors that co-arise with supramundane minds. You won't understand this. These are aggregates, but they are not clinging aggregates, since they can't be clung to, and no one can cling to supramundane minds. Are they permanent? No, they aren't. Is the noble path mind permanent? No. Is the noble fruition mind permanent? No. Therefore, we can't even rely on supramundane aggregates. Because they arise and then cease, just like mundane Dharma. However, once the mind thoroughly comprehends, the mind will let go of all types of minds, even supramundane minds, not craving for them any longer. The mind lets go of all kinds of minds, no more clinging. Whosoever practices up to this stage will not think about whether they are enlightened ones or not. It isn't significant anymore. The term enlightened one is basically a title. What's important is whether the mind can truly transcend defilements and transcend suffering. Thus, don't get hyped up about enlightened ones. We tend to be crazy about enlightened ones, spreading rumors that this one is an enlightened one, that one is an enlightened one, such as me. Many people appoint me as an enlightened one. I say, crazy. They appoint me based on what? This sort of matter can be known only to oneself, whether one's defilements still remain or whether the mind still clings to anything. Keep on practicing step by step. Eventually, our mind will gradually step away from suffering, step by step. Regular people who have never heard of Dharma would think that we are getting old, we are falling ill, we are dying is suffering, or the loved ones getting old, falling ill, and dying is also suffering. There are human beings and other beings. All worldly people feel in this way. When our fathers die, we are suffering. When our mothers die, we are suffering. If one's father has a loss of inheritance, when the father dies, one is glad. So, it varies, depending on one's defilements. After listening to Buddha's Dharma, we should train ourselves. To begin with, observe the 5 precepts. Set aside time every day to train the mind to be calm and to be rooted in awareness. Practice for both, as only calmness isn't enough. Mostly, people practicing calmness samadhi engage in wrong samadhi. Almost 100%, if I may say so. Almost 100% practice wrong samadhi. Either stress-filled samadhi or drowsy samadhi. Neither stressful nor drowsy is good. It's difficult to find someone who practices samadhi with the joyful, awakened knower mind. Having heard about the knowing, waking and joyful mind, they sit and alter their mind into becoming the knowing, awake and joyful mind. They just alter their mind to mimic being awake, while in fact they are just lost. When practicing, sometimes they go mad, and sometimes they are drowsy. These are not correct forms of samadhi. To practice samadhi correctly requires mindfulness to oversee it. At the beginning of meditation, find a meditation object for the mind to stay with. We need to have a meditation object for the mind to stay with. This is called having a home base. And then, remain mindful of one's own mind. For instance, when breathing out, feel it. When breathing in, feel it. Have awareness of the body breathing out. Have awareness of the body breathing in. When the mind slips down, to focus on the breath or the body. Have awareness of the mind slipping down to focus. We can apply breathe in, breathe out, or any other meditation object. And if the mind wanders to think about something else, it forgets the meditation object. This means that in the midst of the body breathing observation, the mind is playing truant. If we have mindfulness and are aware of the truant mind, the mind will not be so. It will be rooted in awareness for a moment. Keep practicing. For samadhi, don't expect calmness. Don't expect the mind to be good. Don't expect the mind to be happy. Use the natural state of mind. Don't be greedy. Greedy mind is an unwholesome mind. It's the mind without mindfulness, and therefore greed can interfere. Thus, we practice with a meditation object and with mindfulness. While practicing, if the mind wanders away, be aware of it. If the mind slips down to focus on the meditation object, be aware of it. When we are aware, this means we have mindfulness. Mindfulness is that which cognizes. The moment that mindfulness is aware of a phenomenon in the present moment, such as mind being lost or mind focusing, the lost state or the focusing state, the wrong state when cognized, it will cease immediately. These kinds of phenomena stem from unwholesome states. All these phenomena stem from, for example, greed, the wanting to practice, or sometimes from absent-mindedness, drowsiness, unawareness of body and mind. Therefore, practice with a meditation object. Must do it. If we want to practice well, we must meditate and must have a meditation object. However, a meditation object isn't a jail to confine the mind, to prevent it from escaping. It isn't like that. A meditation object is a tool that helps us notice the mind. For instance, notice that while practicing with breathing in, reciting Bu, breathing out, reciting Da, the mind has wandered off to think about something else. We can cognize it, because it wanders off from awareness of the breath to thinking about something else. It forgets about the breath. When we recognize that the mind is lost, the lost mind then ceases and the knower mind arises, because the lost mind and the knower mind are the opposite of each other, like the two sides of a coin, either heads or tails, that's all. Hence, if you're not knowing, then you must be lost. Keep practicing. When lost, know it, repeatedly. Practice with a meditation object, but don't expect calmness. The mind can be good, bad, restless, or anything. We just keep knowing it, again and again. Soon, it will be calm on its own. Have mindfulness to oversee the mind. Samadhi, that is the mind being rooted in awareness, will arise. The Buddha taught that we should extensively cultivate a foundations of mindfulness. Foundations of mindfulness means having mindfulness and being mindful of the body and the mind. If we cultivate foundations of mindfulness deeply, it will lead to perfecting the correct samadhi. Thus, extensive cultivation of the right mindfulness will lead to the perfecting of the correct samadhi. Right mindfulness isn't the same as common mindfulness, which applies to wanting to make merit, wanting to offer food to monks, wanting to help society such as animals or people, etc. The wholesome mind with mindfulness is just common mindfulness, not foundations of mindfulness. The Buddha explained that the right mindfulness is foundations of mindfulness, not common mindfulness. Foundations of mindfulness refers to mindfulness of a meditation object. Objects can be forms or non-forms, which serve as an object of or a home base for the mind. For instance, observe the body breathing out and the body breathing in. To observe the body breathing out and in means we are practicing the breath mindfulness chapter, which falls under the domain of mindfulness of the body. Or we can practice by being aware of the four postures as the meditation objects: standing, walking, sitting, lying down. When standing, know it clearly. When walking, know it clearly. When sitting, know it clearly. When lying down, know it clearly. What is it that we are to clearly know? Know that the form is standing, the form is walking, the form is sitting, the form is lying down. The mind is the one that knows. Mindfulness is the one that pays attention. When we are aware of bodily states correctly, the mind rooted in awareness will arise on its own. The Buddha therefore taught that the right mindfulness means being mindful of body and or mind, and a great deal of right mindfulness cultivation will culminate in the perfection of right samadhi. The right samadhi refers to that mental state wherein the mind is rooted in awareness without having to force it. The mind becomes rooted in awareness on its own and has the characteristics of both calmness as well as rooted in awareness. Extensive cultivation of right samadhi conditions right knowledge, which is the right insight or wisdom that is to be perfected. The right wisdom means insight wisdom. When right knowledge is perfected, the right release will happen once perfected. The path and the fruit will manifest step by step. Therefore, we need to keep the precepts and practice formally every day. To meditate, have the meditation object for the mind to stay with, either form or non-form, and have awareness of the mind in the present moment. Breathe in and breathe out. We may also recite Buddha. When the mind wanders off someplace, be aware of it. If the mind slips down to focus on the breath, be aware of it. After we practice to be aware of it repeatedly, when the mind moves just a little, mindfulness will arise on its own. Practice recognizing it repeatedly. Be aware of it again and again. That is when practicing meditation. If the mind moves out either to think or to focus, be aware of it over and over. Seeing this repeatedly will condition the mind to precisely remember the mental state of the moving mind. When the mind moves just a little, mindfulness will arise on its own. No one can order mindfulness to arise. Mindfulness arises by itself. When the mind can precisely remember phenomena, for the mind to precisely remember a mental state, we need to see that mental state often. Therefore, regarding foundations of mindfulness, the Buddha said to observe the body in the body often. Often means frequently. Observe feelings in feelings often. Observe mind in mind often. Observe often. See it often, then the mind will precisely remember phenomena, and then mindfulness will arise on its own. As mindfulness begins to arise, because of observing the body and mind working, then later on, when the body moves, mindfulness will arise by itself. When the mind moves, wandering off to think, or wandering with craving for something, mindfulness will arise on its own. When mindfulness is strong, samadhi will be perfected. Because every time mindfulness sees a phenomenon, for example, mindfulness cognizing the mind wandering out, momentary samadhi will arise. When the mind slips down to focus, the moment mindfulness cognizes it, the right samadhi will arise in that moment, and the mind will be the joyful, awakened knower mind. If we practice consistently and mindfulness arises frequently, when the mind moves, it's observed repeatedly. The mind will be rooted in awareness and luminous. Extensive practice of right mindfulness conditions the perfection of right samadhi. The mind will be rooted in awareness and luminous. When the right samadhi is perfected, and the mind is the knower, when mindfulness cognizes the body, it will gain wisdom by seeing the truth of the body, that it is impermanent, suffering, and non-self, with the mind being rooted in awareness as the knower. When feelings are observed, insight or wisdom will arise from seeing that feelings are impermanent, suffering, and non-self, with the rooted in awareness mind. When mental formations are observed, that is good or bad fabrications, such as greed, anger, delusion, it will be seen that all kinds of formations are impermanent, suffering, and non-self. This is insight, vipassana insight. When our vipassana insight is mature, it will progress step by step. Eventually, the mind will become equanimous with wisdom, because it has seen that happiness is temporary, suffering is temporary, good is temporary, evil is temporary, breathing out is temporary, breathing in is temporary, standing is temporary, walking, sitting, lying down are temporary, all forms and non-forms are temporary, and nothing is more special or greater than one another. We search for happiness. People in the world want happiness. When we have happiness, happiness is transient. It exists and passes away quickly. Despite hating suffering, we can't prevent it. Soon enough, it will come. We want it to go away quickly, but it won't. And then, without doing anything, it goes all by itself. We will see this again and again. Eventually, the mind will become equanimous. Happiness and suffering are equal. Everything only arises and ceases. Good and evil are equal. They arise and cease. As in good and evil at the level of wisdom cultivation, However, at the ethical level, good and evil are not equal. We must not do evil, must do good, must keep the 5 precepts, etc. However, at the level of wisdom cultivation, we will see that happiness and suffering are equal. Good and evil are equal. They are just formations. No matter how great the formations are, every kind of wholesome phenomena is created by the mind. All evil, unwholesome phenomena are created by the mind. They are created, they arise, exist, and cease in the same way. Therefore, the mind will become equanimous towards happiness and suffering, good and evil, as a result of wisdom in seeing that everything arises, exists, and ceases in the same way. When we have wisdom in this way, the mind has maturity of insight. That is our morality, samadhi, and wisdom is sufficient. The moment of the noble path will manifest. When the noble path moment manifests, it has its process. It's not like one sits in meditation, sees this and that, and concludes that the noble path moment has happened. Not like that. There is a process of the mind washing away defilements. We will see this for ourselves. It happens in 7 mind moments. First, the mind will converge into attainment concentration. That is, the mind will cultivate wisdom for 2 to 3 mind moments. Then the mind will abandon wisdom cultivation and revert by going back against the current, back to the knowing essence for 1 mind moment. While going back against the current, back to the knowing essence, the noble path moment will occur, and it cracks and hatches though the intoxicants that are encasing the mind. The influxes is hatched and destroyed for 1 mind moment. Then the noble fruit moments will arise for 2 to 3 mind moments. This may not be equal and depends on the individual. For those with strong wisdom, the noble fruit moments will arise 3 times. For those with not as strong wisdom, the noble fruit moments will arise twice, and if they become a stream enterer, they will be reborn 7 times. Therefore, people who attain stream entry don't possess the same attributes. Those with strong wisdom, after attaining stream entry, will be reborn only once, not 7 times. Only 1 more life. They will be able to reach the end of suffering. If our wisdom faculty isn't so strong, we will be reborn 7 or 3 times. If anyone has really strong wisdom faculty, after attaining stream entry, next they will also attain once returner, non-returner, or even finish the job attaining full enlightenment in this lifetime. It depends on our accumulated endowment. It's fair. You reap what you sow. No sowing. No reaping. Dharma is fair. In the world, there's no fairness or only fake fairness. For instance, we know this person killed a man, but there's no evidence. Even though we know, we can't do anything, because penalty without evidence is considered unfair. Fairness in the world is uncertain. But fairness of Dharma, fairness of karma is certain. For every deed done, there is a karmic effect. If we don't see it, then we don't know. If we can see or know it, we will not dare do evil. In this regard, I don't reprimand when some teachers teach to sit in meditation and recall past lives. Visit hell or heavens. See hungry ghosts, demons, hell beings, etc. It has benefits. At least, after seeing these, one will not dare do evil. Seeing these, one will endeavor to do better deeds, as one wouldn't want to go to lower realms. Regular people can't see it, so they feel that law of karma isn't real. Whether it's real or not, just take a look at people around us. Some person is bad, right? He's corrupt and causes trouble for others. Even though he has enormous wealth, he can't stay in his homeland, for if he does, he won't be happy, as he will be afraid of being poisoned. Everywhere he goes, he will fear assassination. Having properties, he fears robbery, or being audited and seized by the government. His life is full of fear. It's an unhappy life. wanting to live in Thailand, he can't. No other place is as happy as homeland, but he can't stay. Because the law of karma is absolutely fair, even though, in a secular world, he isn't convicted. But Dharma-wise, he's wrong no matter what. If one does wrong, there's no possibility of escape. If only we could see. If we can't see this, then just investigate step by step at our own mind. When the mind does evil, is the mind happy or suffering? Just investigate well, this is enough. When we did bad things, such as we were angry at our father or mother, after that we would see that our mind was somber and dull, and we couldn't practice. Or if we let our mind be restless all day, busy involving ourselves in outside world, scrolling social media posts, this one will disrobe, that one will ordain, chaotic. Our mind will fluctuate back and forth. Take a look back at the mind. Is it happy? Is it calm? No. Involving oneself in people's business brings about trouble. This is the law of karma. We can investigate this by ourselves. If we don't have divine ears, divine eyes, those who have them see hungry ghosts, they are pitiful. This person used to be a big man. Oh, he's now in hell. He used to be the person who the whole country feared of, as he could kill anyone. He could order death penalty for anyone. Oh, he is now in hell. Those with divine ears and eyes, they have firm conviction. But as we don't have divine ears or eyes, we can't recall past lives. We don't know death and rebirth of beings. Then just investigate our own mind. When we do evil, do we see that there is an effect in our mind? The mind is tainted. When we do good, do we see that it affects our mind? The mind is happy and calm. Practice to really see our mind here and now. No need to recall past lives. Just take a look here and now. Then, we will know that every time we do evil, the mind is tainted. It's best not to do evil at all, so we don't have to deal with its karmic effect and be sorrowful. Let's train. Daily, must keep the precepts. Practice samadhi by doing formal meditation, must do it. We must have a meditation object for the mind, and then keep being aware of the mind. Then, mindfulness will arise, samadhi will arise, wisdom will arise. Eventually, liberation will arise. This is easy, not difficult. If we'd like to see whether the law of karma exists, take a look at our own mind. If we're very angry, utterly furious, and after we're not mad anymore, let's observe the mind. The mind suffers karmic consequences. The mind is unhappy. Or when we have strong lust. When the lust is gone, let's observe the mind, whether it's luminous or tainted. Then, we will know that doing evil, no matter how small it is, has negative consequences. The mind will gradually be afraid of doing evil, and will seek to do good even more. Why? To liberate from the cycle of rebirth, and not to suffer again and again like this. The mind will gradually want to break free. Consequently, we will practice diligently, practice every day, and one day we will succeed. The world is chaotic as usual. We can't forbid it. But we don't have to involve ourselves in a chaotic world. That's all. That's all the teaching for today. Submit homework. Number 1.
Number 1, I saw that the mind isn't me twice. Now I have 2 problems. I can't chant mantra because I will get into worldly trouble every time. After I had stopped chanting for a month, my life got better. Also, I get a chance to submit homework. I have had a headache on one side for 10 years, and so, my mind mingles with suffering, and I can't separate the mind to be knower. But when I don't have headache, I can. I'm afraid that when I die, I will go to a woeful realm.
Your practice is okay. It's getting better. Practice regularly. Whether you'll go to a woeful realm can be easily investigated. Going or not depends on the mind. If the mind is tainted, it will go to a woeful realm. A woeful realm can be expected. If the mind is luminous, a happy realm can be expected. Thus, investigate the mind. If the mind is tainted, there is a chance of going to a woeful realm. Between tainted mind and luminous mind, which one occurs more often? Notice it. When the mind is tainted, don't complain. Keep being aware of it, repeatedly. Craving for the mind to become not tainted isn't necessary. When the mind is tainted, know that it's tainted. If we want it not to be tainted, the mind becomes even more tainted, because want is defilement. Be aware of our defilements. Do we have strong anger? Observe step by step, what defilements do we have? Which defilement arises often? Keep being aware of when defilements arise. Defilement means that which taints. Taints what? Taints the mind. If the mind is tainted, it can be expected that it will go to a woeful realm. But if we have mindfulness, when the mind is tainted, and are aware that it's tainted, we will gain great wholesome merit, which arises from mindfulness and wisdom cultivation. It's great wholesome merit. Thus, it's okay if the mind is tainted. Just be mindful of it. Don't let defilement influence our thought, speech, and action. Then, the mind will be luminous. Dharma is straightforward. If the mind is tainted, a woeful realm can be expected. If the mind is luminous, a happy realm can be expected. The one that taints the mind is defilement. Defilement means that which taints. How to fight defilements? Be mindful of the defilement that arises over and over. Don't be self-righteous. Each of us is worse than we think. The real us is bad. When we practice, sometimes we feel, I'm good. But if we look closer, actually I'm bad. The more defilements we are aware of, the freer the mind is of them. It will get better and better. Your practice is good. Keep going. Number 2.
Number 2, I see fire, earth, wind, water elements appear one by one. I observe them, and then what remains is the mind that flutters in the middle of the chest. I see that the mind is the one that thinks and it ceases by itself, then it arises again, over and over. Sometimes, the mind creates major fabrication, causing big movements. As I keep observing it, the mind aches badly for a long while, until the time is up. Recently, I see that the mind is in a thick bag. Please give me homework.
Good that you see that, because that's what it is. The mind isn't free. It's confined. Without practice, we can't see this. The mind is encased by intoxicants, and so the mind keeps on striving to fabricate. Intoxicants is conditioned by ignorance, and ignorance is in turn conditioned by intoxicants. They nourish each other. Keep learning the truth of form and non-form. Then, one day, ignorance will be destroyed. Intoxicants will be destroyed. When I practiced, I saw that the mind was trapped, and I couldn't accept it. I knew immediately that since birth, I had never been free from myself. I wasn't free. I was a slave. I had been imprisoned since birth. Looking at fellow beings, they were all jailed as well. Seeing so, the mind couldn't accept it, so it fought. Till such time I could break free from this prison, I didn't stop, so it's good that you can see this. It's nothing but suffering. The problem now is that the mind isn't neutral towards suffering. There's only one problem. The mind isn't equanimous. Seeing that the mind is trapped, you dislike it. Seeing that the mind flutters and it's nothing but suffering, you dislike it. There are only displeased things and you aren't impartial. Just be aware of it. Not being impartial, just know it. Your practice is good. You can see subtle details. Number 3.
Number 3. I practice formal meditation by sitting in meditation, watching my breath. During the daytime, I see thoughts very clearly, and I get lost in thought, deep, for a long time. When I come back to be aware of myself in the present moment, it's like I come out of another dimension. It doesn't feel natural, and sometimes I feel frightened. Please give me advice for my practice.
You need a meditation object. Without a meditation object, when the mind gets mired in thought, it remains engrossed for a long while. Therefore, practice with a meditation object, the breath, the word Buddho, etc. The mind that is lost in thought will become aware, oh, I'm lost, and then the mind will move away from the thought dimension to a new dimension. The world of awareness. The modern reference is dimension, while technically it is a realm. These are realms. That of the mind is lost in the world of thought, and that of the joyful, awakened knower. No matter the realm it's suffering. Thus far you haven't seen this. That's okay. You can see that the mind is lost, and the mind is unhappy, but the mind with awareness is comfortable. This is what you can see for now. It's okay. Later on, you'll know that whenever a realm exists, it's suffering. It will progress step by step. Don't rush. Just don't remain lost for a long time. The way not to remain lost for a long time is to have meditation objects. Number 4. Your mind is stuck in focusing. Number 4.
Number 4. Currently, I practice by watching the breath, but the mind wanders out to think very often. I feel my samadhi is weak, isn't powerful. How should I practice per my temperament?
Keep being aware of the body breathing. And when the mind escapes, know it. Don't forbid it. Show me your practice. Be aware of the body breathing with a natural mind, not a stiff mind. If you practice with a stiff mind, it won't be calm and happy. Don't alter the mind. Do you see you're altering the mind? Use the natural mind. Yes, use the natural mind. Be aware of the body with a natural mind, not to watch only the breath, but to be aware of the entire body breathing. Do you notice you've sent a mind out to sea? Your mind has moved down to the body. Do you see? Thus, going forward, keep being aware of the body breathing, and when the mind moves into the body, be aware of it. When the mind moves to think of something else, be aware of it. Practice like this, and do it a lot. Keep being aware of the body breathing, and when the mind slips down to focus, be aware of it. Look, it is doing it again. It has wandered out. Breathe again. Breathe. Breathe in a relaxed manner. Yes, breathe with a relaxed mind like that. You're not altering your mind to be happy or calm. Do you see the mind has wandered off already? Practice like this. Keep breathing, and when the mind wanders off, be aware of it. When the mind slips down to focus, be aware of it. When it wanders, be aware of it. Practice like this till you're proficient at it. Later on, mindfulness will arise quickly, and when the mind wanders, it will be known immediately on its own. It won't get lost for a long time. The lost intervals will be shorter and shorter. Number 5.
Number 5. I have mindfulness aware of the body and mind regularly. I see that defilement is like a sticky paste encasing the mind. I know that the mind succumbs to defilements all day. Every day, I listen to your YouTube files. and practice in daily life. Please give me advice on my practice.
Practice consistently and keep at it. It will get better and better. Do you notice that your mind now differs from the one before? It has evolved. We keep being aware, keep observing, and so our mind is getting better and better, but we don't aim for good. It will be good on its own, as a byproduct. Practice step by step. Our goal is liberation, not goodness. But the more we practice, the better we are. You still control your mind, you feel it, right? Good. Number 5. Very good. You can read your mind in detail. Number 4. You're back to focusing again. Inclining the mind to be dull already. Number 6.
Number 6. I do formal meditation every day, by being aware of the body breathing, sometimes the nose, sometimes the belly, sometimes the whole body. I'm still pleased and displeased with phenomena arising. During the day, I practice to be aware of the body moving. I see irritations and worries induced by contact. I love happiness and hate suffering very much. I'm not sure if I can separate the aggregates, or do just I self-righteous. Please point out my weakness.
Yes, you can. It isn't difficult to separate the aggregates. As they are separated, keep observing them. The body at work, the mind at work. When there's bad news, economic recession, price hikes, food shortages, you feel as though you're in trouble and the mind is worried. Be aware that the mind is worried. Keep observing it. Living in the world is chaotic. Don't expect that it will be peaceful and happy. Humanity won't allow for peace to happen on account of strong defilements. Both number 3 and number 6 are struggling with the crisis. Just observe the mind. The mind is anxious, worried. Because it cares for yourself. It loves yourself. We don't forbid it. It cares, loves, worries about our own family. Every time it worries, it's suffering. Keep observing. Then, we will learn that worrying and anxiety are useless. Whatever problem is going to arise, will arise. Thus, in this chaos we face, how do we keep our mind calm and happy? Look, the world is like a dream, both number 3 and number 6. The world is only like a dream. Sometimes, it's a good dream, and at other times, it's a bad dream. But eventually, it's empty. When we wake up, there's no more dream. Try to see the world and our lives as dreams. Whether good or bad, eventually we have to stop dreaming. Everything that has happened in our lives, at some point, will pass away. So, don't expect that life must be happy, that it must be serene at all time. If the mind has expectations, that means we can't accept the truth, and so the mind will suffer. But even though there are lots of problems, if the mind can accept the truth, the mind won't suffer. There will be physical suffering only, such as difficulty in making a living, but there won't be mental suffering. Be patient. Number 6, you're doing great. Number 3, be patient. Don't expect that the world will be comfortable, that the world will be peaceful. The world has never been peaceful. That's the way it is. The world is suffering. It's like we are dreaming. One day, we will wake up from dreams. Number 7.
Number 7. I've been practicing continually. I begin to feel the knower more clearly, and feel that the knower is a separate part from the body. I'm not sure if I see it correctly or it's just my imagination. Sometimes, it's tight at the temple or the neck.
You can feel it. Aggregates can be separated out. It's tight, either at the temple, at the neck, or at the shoulders. Because we intend to focus, intend to watch too much. When we intend to watch, it becomes tight. If we just know relaxedly, it won't be tight. But at the beginning stages of practice, everybody is tight. At first, everyone is tight. But if we don't intend to watch, soon it will be lost. Therefore, at first, it has to be a little tight. It's okay. That's normal. Then, keep observing. When we become more skillful, the tightness will gradually be phased out. In the past, when I studied with Luang Pu Dun to observe the mind, it was tight at first because I focused on the mind. Focusing on the mind makes it tight. And as I kept on practicing, it became more natural, not tight. Good. Number 7. Number 8.
Number 8. The mind likes to think unwholesome thoughts. When craving or anger arise, I know it but I can't stop it. I practice sitting meditation every day in the morning and before bed. But when practicing before bed, I am sleepy and the mind scatters. During the day, I can see some phenomena. While sitting in meditation, it's tight between eyebrows. I'm not sure if I practice correctly.
Just like what I answered number 7, it's tight because of our intention. Initially, everyone has intention. Even I. During the beginning stages of my mind observation practice, I watched till my eyes ached. Instead of using the mind to observe the mind, I used the eyes to observe the mind, and I did so till my eyes were sore. Everybody is like that. This is normal. Keep on practicing. It will get better. Good. Keep going. Number 1. Do you see that the mind isn't natural? You alter it. Be aware of this. Number 8. Do you see that you send the mind to watch? Do you see that the mind is searching for something to watch? Be aware of it. Number 6. Draw the mind back a little. The mind is focusing too hard and so it sinks. Draw the mind back a little. Yes, just like that. Watch at this level. Don't slip down to watch so earnestly. That's it for today.